My name is Jin-Luen Yang. I am the National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. Welcome to the Reading Without Walls video podcast. Today I am with young adult author Jason Reynolds, who is also a National Book Award longlister, among many, many other things. You are starting to collect a Jackie Woodson-like collection of medals right now.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
It's really impressive, dude.
Thank you, man. Oh, well, I mean, coming from you, I appreciate that.
Well, the first thing I want to talk to you about is All American Boys, which I read over the summer.
Okay.
I read it right after the Philando Castile event. So there was a shooting in Minnesota, and I was actually on my way to fly to Minnesota. And I was like, this world does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
I need to make sense of it. I'm going to read this book.
I hope it worked a little bit.
Absolutely did. Absolutely did. I've been recommending it to people ever since. But what I want to talk to you all about, or what to you about, is how that book is structured in an unusual way.
Right.
So how did that come about?
All American Boys is co-written, obviously,
Yep.
by myself and Brendan Kiley. And we wrote sort of alternate POVs in the course of a week, right? So 1 week, each person gets 1 day. And the reason that we did it that way is because we wanted to structure the novel in the exact same way that, it's all based around Dr. King's speech at Grosse Pointe, right? Which is the speech about the two Americas living side by side. And so our goal was to create 2 separate stories of 2 young people who lived side by side but did not know each other and were living vastly different lives, specifically around police brutality and institutional racism and things of that nature. And the way that we wanted to show that was to show them side by side in each chapter, with each day, but they're never sort of overlapping. Everyone in their lives are overlapping, but they're never actually overlapping Friday through Friday. And that's how the structure comes from.
And was it hard? Was it hard to collaborate, or did you feel like you guys were buddies before?
And not only were we friends, but we were friends who built our friendship on this particular conversation.
Okay.
So Brendan and I met right after the George Zimmerman verdict with Trayvon Martin, and we're on tour together. And it's hard for all you young folks out there. The adults always say, when you get grown, quote unquote, you can't talk about religion or politics with other adults that you don't know. It's like a weird, stupid rule. And so here I am on tour with Brendan, and I don't know him. And all I want to talk about is politics because of what just happened.
So how did that start?
I didn't bring it up. I think Brendan brought it up eventually because there was the tension. It was crazy, and he was as upset as I was. A different anger, but an anger nonetheless. And we ventured down the rabbit hole, and we went all the way down the rabbit hole, and we had some seriously uncomfortable, healthy conversations, and we had those conversations every day for 6-7 months until the Michael Brown death in Ferguson, and that was sort of the thing that started All American Boys. So when it came to the actual process of writing the book, it was a piece of cake because we had been having this conversation every day for months and months and months.
Wow. So it really came out of a friendship.
The whole book is based around our friendship. I'll tell you quickly that we had 3 rules. Rule number 1, no one can know we're writing the book. We wrote the book in total secrecy. Our editors didn't know, our agents didn't know, no one knew, because we didn't want anyone to influence us, and we didn't want anyone in the industry, no offense to the industry folks, to talk us out of it. Number 2, if the book does well, we donate money to the organizations who are doing this work. We cannot get rich on blood money. Number 3, if the friendship fails, the book is a bust. Even if the book goes on to be successful, it's a bust in our eyes if we can't keep the glue to our friendship intact. And so our entire book is based around the safe space we created for friendship to flourish and blossom. And he's one of my best and most cherished friends.
So that heart, I tell you, when I read that book, I felt the heart.
For sure.
And now you just explained it to me.
For sure.
That's amazing. Well, let's move on to Ghost, which you just got longlisted for the National Book Award.
Which is crazy.
It's not crazy. It's awesome.
It's so crazy for me. It's crazy for me, man.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So tell me how that book came about. It's about a track team.
It's about a track team.
Does that pull at all from your own experience as a kid?
Of course. I ran in high school. It was terrible. I remember running the 800 in high school and for like 1 year, and then I did shot put and discus because my legs blew out. But I love track, and I really wanted to tell a different tale, a different sports story. You know, we have so many. When it comes to kids of color, especially, they typically get basketball tales just because the basketball courts are readily available in our communities, and we cherish and honor our basketball heroes. Right, and that's the thing, right? Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, this whole sort of the dichotomy about what a young black kid is supposed to be or could be, right? And we have those stories. You know, Kwame did it with crossover, right? It's like we have crossover. I didn't want to add to that pot. I think that he did he right now at least that's his. He's got that. He's got that covered. And I wanted to sort of use athletics to spin a different tale. And I think what we don't talk about enough is the concept of running, specifically in communities of color and lower income communities. The concept of what it means to run. And so what I wanted to do was use the track as an opportunity to be the framework around addressing what does it mean for a young person to run from, to run toward, to run as in sit at the head of, right, to run the family, all of these different things. And I think that's what the track series as a whole is all about. And Ghost in particular is all about, you know, this concept of you can't run from you. You can't run from your past. What has happened to you, at some point, we are going to have to push through it. And track, that's what running in general, physically, is about, right? You can't be afraid of the feeling of discomfort if you want to be a good runner. Because running is all about being okay, being comfortable with suffocating. Like that's literally what running is about. You know?
I ran track, man. I know.
And
I was terrible at it. So I was constantly suffocating.
But that's what it's
now
about.
I know.
It's about suffocation and about sort of being safe with suffocation. And I think that's what we see with Ghost.
So it sounds like both of these books, All American Boys and Ghost, come out of maybe a place of pain, but also a place of hope.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, you know, somebody told me a long time ago, if you know somebody who cries all the time and never ever laughs, don't trust them, right? And I think that it goes both ways. I think that pain and joy are human, are perhaps the most human elements of life and who we are. And I think that for me, I've been through my fair share. My friends have been through their fair share, and I just want to make sure I put it. And I know these kids out here today are going through their fair share, and I want to make sure that I put the trauma in the book as well as the triumph. I don't want to create sort of what we used to call poverty porn. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that there's a balanced and sort of nuanced view of what it means to be a young kid growing up in 2016.
Do you have a ritual that you go through as a writer?
Oh, I get up early. Really,
how early?
I get at 6 o'clock, 6:30. You know what I mean? I'm up, and I tip when I'm not traveling, which unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, it's not very often. I'm traveling a lot these days. But when I'm not traveling, I typically work about 6 or 7 hours every day. You know, between 5 and 7 days a week. You know, and from about 6 or 7 in the morning to about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm at the computer and I'm punching the keys. And it's not always fun and it's not always sexy. It's sometimes it's really brutal and gruesome and grueling. But that's the process. I'm not a man who believes in waiting for inspiration to strike. I think this is a craft of practice.
Yeah.
And I practice every single day. I practice because I recognize that, like, I'm fortunate enough to have all these people that I look up to be close to you, right? So, like, I can look at where you are in your career, and I'm like, man, there's work to do. I can look at Jackie Woodson and say, there's work. Like, I have so much to learn. I have so much to exactly. And so my job is to work every day to be better, and not just be better for me, but to be better for the community in which I'm serving.
What kind of kid were you?
You know what? A balanced kid. I was definitely a kid who knew right from wrong, and I didn't want any confrontation, but I was a knucklehead, right? So it was
like more than normal. Like every kid's a knucklehead.
Not more than normal. Not more than normal.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I was crashing, breaking windows, right? But I grew up in a neighborhood with a bunch of friends, and we did neighborhood friend stuff. You know, like, let's sneak over here and do this. Let's sneak over there and do that. Let's light firecrackers off in the middle of the street in the middle of the night. Let's see what. Just it was more so just trying to figure out what to do with curiosity, which is just a growing up. That's just what it is. I wasn't a very good student. My mother has a weird, diluted version of my life. She thinks that I was like a great student, but I'm like, I was a C student for most of my life. So in college, I struggled. In high school, I struggled. I just didn't. I could have done better, But I was more interested in all the social aspects of everything. I was like, why would I want to learn about astronomy when there are people sitting around me that I could learn from? Like, who are they? Where are they from? How are their lives different from mine? Who cares about the stars when I can learn about them? And I still feel that way. I mean, I feel otherwise now too, but I still feel like there's much to be gained.
I mean, that sounds like a total writer in training.
Exactly.
I'm
all like, I'm
you.
nosy. I'm just like, I want to know everything you guys tell me so that I can steal it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the stars I can't steal. They're there. It's mathematics. You, I can bend, right? Your story, I can sort of manipulate.
That's right. That's right. So you talked about struggling with school. Were there other struggles that you went through that you felt like books really helped with?
You know what, man? I'll tell you, there were a lot of things that happened from your parents breaking up to family members. And it's weird now because I'm looking back on it. At the time, we didn't see it that way. But you look back and you're like, man, my cousins were on drugs. But at the time, it's just like,
That's just the way it is.
yeah, you hear people say stuff like, yo, so and so a junkie, but you don't process it that way as a kid. It's like, I just want to go play. I'm just trying to hang out with her son. You know what I mean? We're at her house, we're spending the night at her house, and you know what's gonna happen in the morning or what the house is gonna smell like. But it's just like it didn't matter to me, and it didn't matter to us. But those were the things that were going on. And as I got older, and you start to process your life differently, you start dealing with some of those things. In terms of the books, though, I mean, there were definitely things happening in my life that I needed books for. But the issue for me was always the books I needed to read, I couldn't find. And so and I'm not proud of this, but it's my life. Right? I didn't read any books until I was 17. I didn't read any books until I was 17. So for me, what the saving grace was I read rap lyrics. I would buy cassette tapes and I would open the liner notes and I would read the rap lyrics, and that's how I sort of discovered that. And I always say this, that Tupac and Langston Hughes were more alike than different, and that Queen Latifah and Maya Angelou were more alike than different, and that I could see myself in the language, in the lexicon of Tupac and Latifah, more so than I could in the language of Toni Morrison, more so than I could in the language of Harper Lee. And so instead of me trying to find my way through To Kill a Mockingbird, I'd rather just listen to Public Enemy and sort of find my story in between the lines of what they were doing. And so I decided to write poetry. And poetry was the way out for me. That was the sort of way for me to get the pain out and express myself and the people that I had lost in my life as a young person and all the things that I had come through as a young person.
So it's still always about the beauty of words.
It's always been about the beauty. I've always been fascinated with language. I mean, my family had me read poems at the funerals of my family members when I was 10, 11 years old. And so for me, it was all about watching what a few words could do to bring healing to the family. That's the first thing I learned. It was like, wait a minute, you mean to tell me that I could write something on a page and it can make you feel a little bit better, at least for the moment, while you're dealing with the grief of a lost one? For an 11-year-old, that's like magic. And I became obsessed, and that was sort of my way in. Then I 17, 18, I read Richard Wright, and then I was like, oh, okay.
So he was the one.
He was the one.
He was the one.
Black Boy was the one.
Black Boy was the only book that was assigned to me in high school that I finished before
See?
the date I had to finish.
There you go.
That book,
It's incredible.
Like, I ended up,
He burns the house down, first page, I was in.
Yeah, no joke, no joke.
I was in.
Yeah,
I was in.
that book was amazing. Yeah, it was
Amazing.
so amazing. I ended up doing my senior paper in high school on Native studies. Because that dude,
He
that
really,
dude's mind-blowing.
nailed it. He mind blowing.
yeah. So what other books can you recommend? Like, what other books? Let me ask you this: what other books do you think would have made a difference to you when you were a kid? Had you been able to find them?
Walter D. Myers' The Young Landlords. The Young Landlord specifically. I know everybody loves Walter D. Myers' Monster. Right? That's But for me, The Young Landlords was more life-changing for me. And I read it at 23. And I was like, 24. And I was like, oh, this is great because it was about kids. Because it was creative, it was urban, and it was sort of, which is what I needed, and it was creative in a way that, like, Monster is the story that I felt like I knew, right? It's like, I grew up with guys like this, right? The Young Landlords was about these kids who inherit a slum building from a slumlord for $1 and become landlords to a building. and that was something I had never heard of. And I thought he did a really creative thing, and it was incredible. And it dealt with a lot of really tough things, and it dealt with a lot of really incredible, smart, funny, creative things that you rarely see in the neighborhoods that I grew up in. And that was the book that I'm always saying that The Young Landlords is amazing. Also, Jesmyn Ward's Salvage the Bones. To me, one of the greatest books written in the last decade, hands down, of all genres, of all categories. One of the greatest books written in the last decade, maybe one of the top 200 books ever written, as far as I'm concerned. Brilliant story about this, what I like to say, the storm before the storm. This is leading up to Katrina in DeLille, Mississippi, and sort of like what was happening in this community before Katrina, as we lead up into Katrina. A masterpiece, and it's all from the protagonist and the perspective of a young girl. It's just in the American South, right? And really depicting contemporary American South, which we don't get often enough, right? So the contemporary American South story is something that I'm really fascinated by, and I think we should probably push more for. And we can all connect to that as well. So, I could go on forever, but Jackie Wilson's another Brooklyn. Jackie Wilson's Brown Girl Dreaming. The whole Jackie Woodson,
yeah, the whole library.
The whole
library.
Yeah, her whole library.
Yeah. Anything with her name on it.
Anything with her name on it, pick that up.
Yeah.
For sure. Locomotion.
Locomotion.
Amazing.
No joke.
It's amazing. So much, man.
Yeah. Well, thank
and
you.
all of Gene Yang, of course. Gene Luen Yang. Anything he's written.
Well, thank you, Jason. Well, I want to end with this thought, which you gave me, which is the beauty of words is magic.
Magic.
Beauty of words is magic. Thank you so much,
Hey, brother.
Jason Reynolds.
I appreciate you.
Great to talk to you. Thank you.